This is a Sitting Ringside with David Penzer. Quick Fix on Radio Influence.
Hi, this is David Penzer. You might know me from WCW, TNA Wrestling, or Impact Wrestling at the current time. I am a ring announcer in the pro wrestling business. I was in World Championship Wrestling during the Monday Night Wars. You might remember those. Sat ringside for every Monday Night Show, WCW Thunder, every house show, and pay-per-view for about a decade. And in later years, worked for TNA Wrestling on Spike TV and currently Impact Wrestling on Pop TV. Wanted to start a podcast, but I wanted to add a little of my own flavor to it. So what we're going to do on Sitting Ringside with David Penzer, we're going to talk to a lot of my friends that I've made throughout the years, people you might know, people you definitely will know if you're a fan of professional wrestling. We're going to talk to them and tell some stories, and almost like we're driving down the road 300 miles like we had to do back in the day before there was internet and cell phones. We told stories mostly and ribbed each other a little bit. And so we're going to try to bring that to you in the form of a podcast, not so much where were you born and, how'd you get into professional wrestling, but just telling some stories that I experienced with these guys on the road. One other thing I wanted to do to make it special, though, because I wanted to make this a special type of podcast where it's just not interviewing the stars of professional wrestling, which is important, and we're going to do that. I want to have a section on each show. I'm going to try to do it called Behind the Spotlight. And there's so many people in the professional wrestling business, whether you're a referee or a ring announcer like myself, a producer, booker, talent relations, that add to what you see on television, and they're behind the spotlight. They are not the big stars. They're not making, the big money. They're not getting asked for autographs for the most part. And, but they got a lot of stories to tell. Sometimes their stories are even better than the stories that the wrestlers have, because they've seen a lot of stuff go down behind the scenes, and they're not afraid to tell their stories. So I want to try to do that. And I have a lot of people in mind that I want to talk to and give you, the fans, a little bit of behind the scenes on how a wrestling show is put together, some of the challenges. We'll talk about some names that you might know, Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Jimmy Hart, Chavo Guerrero, Chris Jericho, guys I used to run up and down the road with, Hugh Morris, Bill DeMott. The list goes on, and even Chris Benoit. We'll talk about that, even though that's a hard subject to talk about. Also tell you some stories. There's all kinds of rumors back in the Nitro days of the show literally being written as it was airing live on TNT. So we'll get into that a little bit, and maybe interview some of the producers and the talent relations people, the people sitting at the gorilla position, and talk about how sometimes literally they would get segment by segment, as we were going along, a live 2-hour, 3-hour show. So very interested in getting feedback from the fans. Hit us up on Twitter at Penzer Ringside, on Twitter. So check it out, give it a listen, and I hope you enjoy what we're trying to do. Sitting Ringside with David Penzer. Looking forward to doing it.
Sitting Ringside with David Penzer can be found on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and RadioInfluence.com.